And before you were writing fiction, you have been a journalist since the 1980s, covering all sorts of things. And I would love to know how your journalism about international accidents and conflict contributes to public conversation about these issues.
I would say that the most important, I would say, that usually before, the West, the democratic world, it solved the post-Soviet territory, it's watched post-Soviet territory by Russian eyes. Literature, journalism, theater, movie, and so on, they created mythology about Russia. And now it's very important that the democratic world should listen to the post-Soviet countries. They should listen to them, and for example, maybe I'm one of the voices. My novel, Reporter Volkovsky, fiction, is one of books which should be read by the democratic society. You should understand that Russians always lie. So, and listen to us, not just Ukrainians, but mostly Ukrainians, because Russians attacking us. So that is why I think that it's very important that the Defiance Press, the publishing house in the United States, published my book, and their foundation, the United Help Ukraine, supported financially my trip.
What does it mean to you to be talking with Elon students, faculty, and staff today? And what do you hope that they gain from your talk?
No, it's tragedy that so many people killed and displaced, of course. But it's a reality. You should understand by now that there are ideas in the United States that we should stop this war, but you should understand that not just Putin, but Russian nation, majority of Russian nation, they believe that they need to renew the Soviet Empire. Then they can't imagine it without Ukraine, because Ukraine was a big part of the Soviet, not just Soviet, but Tsar Empire, Russian Tsar Empire, and Russian Soviet Communist Empire, and so on. But you should understand that if you stop Russia now, stop the war now, if you don't push Russia away from the Ukrainian territory, if the democratic world doesn't win Russia, they will begin it sooner or later. They will begin again. He and his nation has created the idea to make Ukrainians either to join the future Russian Soviet Empire, hypothetical Russian Soviet Empire, or to be destroyed. You could read, there were a lot of articles with suggestion if the Ukrainians don't want to join Russia, they should be destroyed, they should be killed.
As a Ukrainian covering the Russia-Ukraine conflict, how does that affect your journalism, and how do you think that your reporting differs from others?
When there is a war, there is a lot of different standards. No different standards, but professional, like BBC standards and so on. But when you are at the war, which is against your country, by the way, you used the word of conflict, not conflict, it is the war. The war. You have different choices. You have different situations when you have to act to reach your goal, to cover information, but at the same time you are in situations when it doesn't allow to act purely according to the standards. You will understand that the war is absolutely terrible things, but unfortunately we have to pass it, we have to do it, because it's a reality. We didn't start it, just Russia began it.
I have read part of your book, and I know that a big conflict that comes up in the story is, should a journalist remain impartial and objective, but also have a personal attachment to the conflict? So I'm wondering, what is the answer to that question? How does a journalist maintain ethical standards by practicing objectivity and fairness and balance while also having a personal connection to the war?
I would say that if you are under attack, you, of course, without any doubts, you should say the truth. You have to speak truth, but at the same time, you have to present it in a way that they would support spiritual spirit of the nation to protect your country. It's very important. You are a participant of it, but at the same time you shouldn't lie. I believe that my duty is describe it. If of course Ukrainian army also doing some not very good things, let's say so. We should describe it, of course, because if they are providing crimes and so on. But at the same time, I believe that we should balance it. If you do not balance it, it will. I mean, I think it wouldn't be. It will be harm for the Ukrainian army and spirit of the nations.
You have been reporting on international conflict for 40 years, and I'm wondering, does this Russia-Ukraine war that's happening right now feel different to you than other conflicts you've reported on in the past?
No, this war is a key war of after the Second World War, because this is not just war against Ukraine. This war is Russians began this war against democratic civilization. If you allow to occupy Ukraine, for example, the democratic world, it's very good that the American nation and other democratic nations support Ukraine. But if they stop their support, it would mean that dictatorship all over the world will be inspired to be more active. You know, after Ukraine there will be Taiwan. China will attack it, of course. That is why we have to win all together. Mostly Ukrainians, of course, but it isn't just Ukrainian war. I know that usually in the United States are two ideas. One idea is to provide democracy all over the world. Another idea to create democracy like a window of democracy in the United States, and the rest of countries will join it. But practice shows that windows doesn't work. I'm sure that if you should understand, if you don't interfere into the war, if you don't support Ukraine, sooner or later you will have, their life will make you to do it, because you will see new conflict all over the world, and they will influence the United States. United States couldn't be, it's too powerful country to be isolated.